Okay, here we go. Hi, everyone. Here, Tommy Walker, the Mind Engineer again with a new episode. Today, we're going to be talking about how to develop a learning mindset and embrace challenge. This is an important topic because what we see a lot is that when we go into the unknown, when we go into open water, when we face challenges, a lot of people tend to play it small, tend to go back to their comfort zone and stay there. So they start calling themselves names like, a procrastinator or laziness or whatever it is, right? That they're in a way tagging their current situation. But to be able to change, we need to understand again how the mind works. So it's going to be, as always, we're talking over here about how the mind works and how is that relatable towards developing a learning mindset, right? And embrace challenges. So thank you very much for being here. If you're watching on Facebook, if you want to share their hashtag live, that will be great. Or if you're watching replay, hashtag replay, that we know that you're there. The more you engage, the more people get to see this. So it would be great if you can do that so more people in the group can find out what we're talking about, seeing these type of things. If you're in Zoom, that's fine. So thank you very much again. And let's get into this topic that is very important in our life, right? So first of all, we need to understand is what is our relationship with frustration? What is our relationship with rejection? What is our relationship with dealing with problems, with making mistakes? The first thing we need to understand is what is our belief around, right? Solving problems, not being able to solve a problem, making mistakes and those type of things, because that is one of the most important things that is going to hold us back from putting ourselves into this learning mode that I speak over and over again. Whenever we're doing something, I tell people, put yourself in learning mode. But unfortunately, a lot of people struggle with this, again, because of the stories they're playing in their mind. And I'm going to give you some examples so that makes more sense, guys. So imagine that I need to go find another job. If in the back of my head, I believe that I'm not good enough, that I'm inadequate, there's something wrong with me. What if in this company, they realize that I'm not as good as I try to seem I am, or whatever it is, the story you're telling yourself. Unfortunately, that type of mindset is going to keep you stuck, and you're not going to be able to embrace and learn from those challenges that you might be facing. And what most people do, they turn around and move away from those challenges. They go back into the comfort zone. They stay stuck. So one of the first things, guys, I want to give you as kind of homework for you to take with it. It's not that you're going to solve it overnight or you're going to find out everything overnight. Remember, the mind doesn't open up overnight. It has to have two very important things: open heart and open mind. What does that mean? Is I'm going to try to prevent myself from judging or criticizing myself for maybe being in the comfort zone, maybe being stuck, maybe quote unquote feeling lazy or procrastinating. Instead of beating myself up, I need to understand, okay, this is an alarm in my dashboard that it's telling me that there's something deeper that I need to face. So again, to be able to develop a learning mindset and embrace challenges, we got to get rid of the negatives in the back of our head that are holding us back from doing exactly that, developing a learning mindset and embrace challenges. So let's go back to the example. If I want to change jobs and I feel or I think deep down that I'm not good enough, that I'm not worthy, that I cannot do it, I doubt myself, unfortunately, that is going to take me to stay where I'm at and not maybe get out there and start sending my resumes or, showing up to interviews or doing good in interviews, whatever it is, guys, building your business, relationship-wise, whatever it is, guys, it has to do with the negative stories. So now, although we spoke about this in many areas, let's talk about this, about putting yourself into learning and embracing the challenges. The first thing we got to do is try to remember, as a homework, try to start remembering, how was your childhood? How did your parents react whenever you made a mistake? Were they permissive, towards you, where they allowed you to try and do whatever you wanted and they didn't care? And that could be also negative. Was it that they were very authoritarian? So whenever you made a mistake, they were very hard on you. You got to try to start remembering how your childhood was, because that is going to dictate how you are today acting around these things. And I just realized that I don't have my camera on. I'm just showing the cover. Let me go back to this so you can see me, guys. Here we go. So hi everyone. Hi Suzanne. Hi Shan. Hi Romana. Hi Mary. Hi Alexa. Nice to have you here on Zoom. So going back to this topic, right? We need to understand is what was our parents' reactions around problems, around challenges, around mistakes, around failing, around different things. Maybe, I don't know, your parents or your mom or your dad, never seek for a better job, or they didn't pursue what they thought would make them happy. Like, I don't know, maybe writing a book, or I don't know, taking acting classes, or whatever it is. They might have not done it because they were scared. So many times we start learning from them, and then we do the exact same thing, guys. Although we might have said, and remember how many times you might have said to yourself, oh, I will never do this, that your parents might have done, and that you still find yourself sometimes doing those things. Why? Because we repeat patterns. We learned something as kids. We thought that that was right. And then as we are in autopilot, we fall back to this same patterns. So perfectionism. In my parents, mom or dad, were perfectionists to themselves. That could have come over to me now, and I'm falling into perfectionism, right? Maybe they put a lot of pressure on me because they wanted me to perform really good. And that created different limiting negative and false beliefs around my self-image, around performance, around one thing could be that I have to do good in whatever I do because maybe I'm not good enough if I don't do it correctly. So imagine that if you're doing sports and your father is expecting you to do really good in sports, maybe that could create an association that if I don't do good in sports, I don't get loved. If I'm not loved, unfortunately, what's going to happen is, and if I tried to be good at sports and I didn't get the love that I deserved, maybe nowadays I push myself very hard, but at the end of the day, I'm still stuck. Why, guys? Because you have experienced as kids that pushing yourself hard and trying to achieve, although it moved you forward in some aspect, it wasn't enough. So now the story you could be telling yourself is, it is never enough. And check this out, guys. Have you ever done stuff and at the end of the day have felt that it was never enough? Type a yes in the chat if it has happened to you, guys. Yes, has led to shame. Thank you very much, Susan, there for sharing that. Type a yes in the chat if you have done things and then realize like, oh, it's never enough for this person, for my kids, for my work, for my job, for my business, whatever. It's like, no matter what I do, it is never enough. So the problem is, guys, we have associated that performance tied up with receiving love. So again, our mind says, I don't want to try, because if I try, if it doesn't go well, I'm going to feel so lonely. I'm going to feel so crappy as I felt as a kid. So I'm going to protect you, Tommy, keeping you stuck or falling into perfectionism, doing too much, right? And then falling into burnout as a protective mechanism again. Does that make sense, guys? So Carmela, thank you for the yup. Rashmi, thank you for being here again. Thank you, guys. So what is happening again? The mind is falling into protective mode. Before we talked about procrastination, but then when similar to that, how the mind works, whenever we want to turn into learning mode, embrace challenges and grow, the mind is going to say, wait. What are your beliefs from childhood, guys? And listen to the distinction here. I don't care what you think around challenges. I don't care, guys. Seriously, I don't care what you're going to tell me consciously around challenges, because most people are going to tell me what they read in a book, what they heard a guru saying out there. Challenges are good. We're meant to learn from them. But then when you see their actions are not aligned with that conscious thought that they have. So I don't care what you think you think. I don't care when people tell me, oh, Tommy, I don't care what people think. Oh, I don't care if I make mistakes. I love challenges. Okay, so then I see actions. So are you taking actions for your business? Oh, no, the thing is I need it to be perfect. Oh, no, Tommy, I needed to have this in place. So then I'm going to do that. Look at Romana. She's laughing. I can see you. And you're writing, so me. But that again, guys, it's not what you think what's holding you back. It's what you don't know you think. So we need to start exploring. Again, how did your parents react with challenges? Did they show you how to grow and learn from a challenge? Or was it more hide and play it small? Look at your parents. What happens when they were faced with challenges? Did you see them facing challenges, or did you see them just living, the life they were giving, and that was it because they thought that was it? So look at this, guys, and we're going to go back to this. We learn from our parents how they treat themselves, how they treat one another. So how my mom treated herself and how my dad treated himself. Then it goes into how they treated each other. Yes. And the third thing is how they treated me. From those combination, guys, you start creating your limiting, negative, and false beliefs. So if your mom, and there's nothing wrong with this, guys, but maybe was a stay mom home because she was scared of getting out there and try to progress in her career, maybe that kind of splatter on top of you on, I have to play it small. Maybe not. Maybe she wanted to be a home mom. Don't get me wrong, guys, right? Or dad was a home dad, or dad was a guy that worked for one company in his entire life, or for a couple, and he got fired and then he went to work to another, and he got fired, he went to work to another, but he never see what he really wanted. When we didn't see that, guys, from our parents, it's going to be very difficult for us to know how to face challenges. So then each one of us are going to develop protective mechanisms. Again, it could be perfectionism. It could be laziness. It could be procrastination. It could be whatever you're doing, guys, to protect yourself from feeling bad if things don't go the way that you think should go. So to be able, again, to develop a learning mindset and start embracing challenges, I need to understand what are the scripts, the story, guys. Because again, listen to this, and I've said it before, but I'm going to say it again, guys. If I'm watching a movie in the cinema that has been recorded previously, the actors are playing a role in the movie. They are, in a way, learning a script and playing that script. If I stand in the middle of the cinema and start screaming at the actors because I want them to change the screenplay, it ain't gonna happen, guys. Imagine me wanting a movie to change in the middle of the movie because I'm screaming at the actors, because I want the actors to change the way they're acting. It's not gonna happen, guys. Why? Because the movie has already been written, directed, recorded, and I'm seeing a recording. So whatever I'm acting today, guys, is a recording of something that happened in my past that I've learned. And now, as I'm not, in a way, questioning, exploring it, learning from it, I keep replaying it. As I keep replaying it, it makes it very difficult to put myself into this learning mode. Why? Because I'm scared of making a mistake. And the other day I was seeing, I was seeing, what was it? I don't know who it was, but I really loved it. It was a little girl that dropped, yes, it was a psychologist, I think it was, talking about parenting. There was a little girl that dropped her drink on top of the table and she made a mess. All the drink was on top of the table. Instead of scolding that little girl, mom said, hey, it's okay. We had an accident. What can we do next? The little girl said, oh, mom, I can grab something and, I don't remember something to dry it. So the little girl went and picked something to dry it and started drying the mess. So the mom didn't make a big fuss about it. She didn't tell the little girl, what did you do? What are you doing? Don't do that, whatever. Because when we were told like that from our parents, what did you do, Romana? That is wrong. You started being scared. Look at this, guys. You started being scared of taking actions. Does this resonate, guys? Type a yes in the chat if this is making sense, guys. Yes, wish my mom was like that, Romana is saying. Thank you. Yeah. So, guys, instead of supporting, many times if we are parents, if we have small kids or now grown-ups, is we can check how we treated them sometimes, and how we treated them is a repetition of how we were treated. But there's one more step, guys, one very important step in this. So how to develop a learning mindset, embrace challenges, start exploring your mind to find the negative stories. How did your mom treat you? How did she treat herself? How did mom treat dad? When dad made a mistake, did mom make a big fuss? When mom made a mistake, did dad make a big fuss about it? Did they both make a big fuss? If I made a mistake, did they both make a big fuss with me, or did mom or dad make a big fuss? So we need to understand how was that interaction to understand what is my mindset. What are the scripts I'm telling myself around this? Because this is the only way that's going to allow me to put myself into learning mode, because pushing myself to be in learning mode, it's not going to work, guys. So I need to understand how they treated me. And the next step that is the most important, guys, is how they treated themselves and how they treated me. The third step and most important is how did I learn? How did I learn how to treat myself? A little bit of redundancy there, guys. How did I learn to treat myself, guys? Because now many of us don't have our mom and dads over our shoulders telling us if we did something wrong. So if our mom and dad are not over our shoulders telling us that we did something wrong, who is? Why am I not going to learning mode? Why am I not facing challenges? Why am I procrastinating? Why am I falling into perfectionism? Why am I falling into laziness? Why am I falling into stuck? If my parents maybe are not around as they were, why am I still struggling, guys? Why? You say it. Why am I still struggling if they are not around? I just said it. So now you have to say it. Why am I struggling? Shan, thank you. Me. Exactly. Because I am treating myself. Thank you, Alexa. I am treating myself the way I have been taught how to treat myself. Thank you, Romana. Because I do the same to myself, guys. So how am I supposed to put myself into learning mindset, into embracing challenges, if I beat myself up each time I make a mistake, if I beat myself up if things don't go the way that I think they should be going? It ain't gonna happen, guys. It ain't gonna happen. So I need to first understand how I was taught, what are the scripts in my mind, so that I can start working on changing it. Because if not, you're not going to be able to change it. Yes? So type a 1 in the chat if this is making sense. A 1 in the chat if this is making sense. Thank you. Exclamation mark is a 1. Don't worry, Alexa. Perfect. A 1 with an exclamation mark. Yeah? So how do I start digging this? How do I go into my mind, asking questions, asking myself, close your eyes, breathe a little bit, connect, relax, and ask yourself, imagine yourself walking inside of your house when you were a little girl or a little boy. How was it? Remember things that happened as a kid. How did your parents react with your grades? Did you have really good grades? And listen to this, guys, because I've seen this so many times. It's important to understand how they treated you, and also, guys, how they treated your siblings, if you had siblings. Because I have had people that I work with that they are very, very hard on themselves. And when we talk about this, they're like, I was working with a woman that she was very silent, very shy at home. She wouldn't speak much. She wouldn't make any mistakes or anything. Why? Because she saw mom and dad beat the crap of one of their siblings. as mom and dad beat or bullied, or not beat only physically, but in other kids I've seen emotionally, as they beat up one of their kids, the others saw the consequences of not behaving correctly, of not doing everything right, or things like that. And they put in their mind, I have to do everything right, because if not, I'm going to be bullied like that, or be beaten up by mom or dad emotionally or mentally or physically. You see what I mean, guys? Does that make sense? So it's important to understand, Alexa, then we can talk a little bit about that in a second, okay? So we got to start exploring, what did we see our parents reacting around their challenges with our siblings and with us? Because that is going to impact the way we see the world. So look, here Greg is saying the car was rolling backwards. I was 5 years old. I hit the brakes and stopped it, waited for mom to come back. She yelled at me. Look at this, Greg. She yelled at you because I'm pretty sure that she was freaking scared because the car rolled away. Was it your fault? No, it was mom's fault. But I see this a lot. Once I was in a park, a kid got lost. And when they found it, the kid, the mom was screaming at the kid like, how did you walk away from me? What do you think you're doing? And the mom was crazy screaming at this 5-year-old. The 5-year-old was just being a kid, walking away and having fun. You're not supposed to scream at the kid. And don't get me wrong, the mom did it because she was freaking scared. But as she was blaming herself and she couldn't deal with it, she ended up blaming the kid. So imagine this kid that walked away from mom because he was just having fun. And mom then is screaming her eyes out to this little kid because this little kid made the worst mistake in the world. What do you think this kid is going to do next when he's faced with a challenge? He's going to stay in the comfort zone. He's going to stay there being like, oh, I don't want to do anything wrong. Please, no, keep me here. Don't get me out of this. So then, guys, and look at this. I'm so freaking scared. I have to beat myself up to get out of the comfort zone. Does that resonate, Romana, sometimes? Beating yourself up to get out of the comfort zone? It happens a lot, guys, and a lot of gurus are teaching you that, how to, in a way, beat yourself up to get unstuck, to push harder. But you need to, again, to understand there's a part of you that is freaking scared of making a mistake. So instead of pushing yourself and needing a lot of energy and then feeling drain and burnout because you're beating yourself up to move away from the comfort zone, understand why you're there. How did your parents teach you to deal with challenges? How did they deal with challenges? This is the most important thing, because when I start understanding the script, again, guys, imagine me in front of a movie theater screen screaming. Imagine you go on Saturday to the movies and there's a crazy guy in front of the screen screaming at the actors, "Oh, please don't die. Change it. Don't do that. Change that." And I'm screaming at the actors as if it was their fault, right? And they need to change the script right now and there. It's not going to happen. The actors are not there. That's what we're doing most of the time, guys. Trying to change a screenplay without even understanding why it's there in the first place. If I'm protecting myself to not take action, procrastination, because I'm scared of taking action and then not going the way I expected, or making a mistake or whatever, and then confirming, yes, that I'm a failure, that I'm not good enough, that is going to push me not to take actions. Or the opposite, fall into perfectionism. I have to know everything. I have to do it perfect. I need to know all my stuff to be able to get out there. I need to be the perfect, person in personal development or spirituality. I need to be super connected with my higher self to be able to start helping people, to start making money, to start getting my business going, to have a relationship. I have to heal all my path to have a relationship, because if not, I'm going to fall into the negative, into a bad one. Guys, that is perfectionism. How many times have you held yourself back, not taking actions, expecting everything to be quote unquote perfect before you took action? Write in the chat, yes, a number 2, if you have ever tried in different circumstances, held yourself back to do something until it was quote unquote perfect. So as Suzanne was saying, control over everything. Yes, we fall into control as a protective mechanism. Listen to this again, guys. I fall into that as a protective mechanism. My mom never allowed me to be ordinary, a normal child. She always forced me to be perfect and better. Exactly, Ingrid. And that's why you are so hard on yourself, because you were taught that by your mom. Your mom taught you that you had to be perfect to be loved, to be accepted. So now you push yourself the same way. And when things don't go perfect as you would like to, you start beating yourself up. That is a protective mechanism that we developed because that's what we were exposed to, guys. So the idea is to be able to find those mechanisms, understand them, hug them, love them, because you were doing the best you could. You were doing the best you could, guys. Remember that. That part of you, that child part of you that didn't know better, didn't know how to receive love, adjusted to mom or dad or school or grandparents or whatever to try to be perfect, in this case, perfectionism, to try to receive love. So now we have this perfectionism to ourselves. Yes, exactly, Ingrid. Receive love, approval, and acceptance. Exactly. We fall into perfectionism so that we can receive that. Or we fall into procrastination because we're scared. Look at the opposite side of the spectrum, guys. Perfectionism. We want love, acceptance, and approval. So we fall into perfectionism. But on the other hand, we can fall into procrastination because we're scared of doing and not receiving. We're scared of doing and then not receiving love, acceptance, a pat in the back. So we're scared of doing because we might not receive, and that is going to confirm our false belief that we're not good enough, that we're a failure. So we rather not do. So for each person, guys, we all have our unique script. I have worked with thousands of people around the world, guys, and there's not one script fits all, because some people fall into laziness and into specific things. Others fall into perfectionism. Others fall into procrastination. Others fall into pushing themselves very hard and burnout. Every person has their unique mechanism, because your parents, guys, were very different than mine. Romana's parents were different to Suzanne's parents. Suzanne's parents were different to Mary's parents. And apart from those differences, right? Apart from those differences, they acted different amongst the different siblings. So now from all that combination, guys, we start picking and creating our own scripts. So imagine, put your mom and your dad and their behavior. Let's do this because it's going to sound gross, but please don't get me wrong. But put mom and dad's behaviors in a blender, how they behaved with us, how they behaved on themselves, put it on. It's going to blend everything together in a unique way. That is you, guys. So the work that I do is try to understand your unique behaviors so that we can start understanding why they're there, where do they come from, what are they covering for, what are they protecting you from, what are they protecting you from, to be able to start working on changing. So I'm sharing with you guys how to start doing it by yourselves, guys. So start writing around how mom you think she saw life, according to her actions or according to what she said. And remember, guys, many times our parents said one thing and acted in a very different way. So this is another thing, how they acted and how they said things, because you could have picked any of them, how they behaved or how they acted. We are mostly inclined to learn from how they act, but we can also learn from how they behave. Okay, sorry, the words they use, the words they use. So all those combinations, guys, created our belief system. So to be able to develop our learning mindset and embrace challenges, first of all, we got to start understanding how our parents dealt with their own challenges, how did they deal with our challenges too? Because they could have dealt with their own challenges one way, on the outside, but then when it was towards us, maybe they lost it. Maybe they were not able. In my case, my parents had a very difficult time, with me because I was a different kid than normal. So they had a hard time. My brother was more like the kid that did everything right and behaved, and he would cry, and my mom would say, "Go cry to the bathroom. When you're done, come out." And my brother would go into the bathroom, cry, and then get out of the bathroom. So he was doing what my parents expected him to do. When I came out with, I didn't do what they expected. So they didn't have the tools to deal with me. So of course they made mistakes, and it's normal. So from those mistakes, I started creating my own stories. So what is my story around failure? Failure is, and write it down, but think as a little girl, not from you as a grown-up, because you have been trained to think that failure is good, to think that rejection is okay. But deep, deep down, you don't. Because remember, is that part of you from your past, that little girl or little boy that made up other stories that you might not be aware of that are holding you back. So you need to start exploring on those stories, those scripts, those programs, whatever you want to call it, that you are playing in your head around rejection, around failure, around making mistakes. How are you treating yourself when you make a mistake? How are you treating yourself when things don't go your way and you feel that they have failed, that an action failed? How do you treat yourself? Because if you don't treat yourself in a loving way, if you don't treat yourself correctly, unfortunately, it's going to be very difficult to develop a learning mindset, embrace challenges, because deep down, you're so scared of making a mistake or looking that everything is perfect to receive love, attention, and affection, that at the end of the day, you don't do the things that you want to do. You just do according to others, what others expect, guys. And this is what we see, a lot of people are doing. They're doing what others expect them to do. So I'm going to tie it up with the entrepreneur journey. Although this is Monday mindset, it's important to understand whenever we do things that are not the norm. And the other day, talking to my nephew, right, we were talking about this, and I've been, thinking this in my head for a while now, right? But it was a big confirmation when I spoke with him, right? I come from a family with no entrepreneurs in the family. At least my dad, my mom, right, and their parents, they were not entrepreneurs. They worked for somebody else. So I was exposed to 9-to-5 jobs as a kid. My nephew, he has worked very little for somebody else, but he's normally independent, or he's always thinking of starting his own business. Why is it that I had a very hard time as a kid starting a business, thinking of different things, right? And he find it so normal because his mom and his dad, both my nephew's parents, are both entrepreneurs. As he was exposed to the entrepreneur journey, for him, it's easy to think about the entrepreneur journey. My kids that have been exposed to entrepreneurship are going to find it easier to choose that path if they want it. I hope they don't do that path because that's what dad did. I want them to do it if they want to do it. But if they want to go 9-to-5, I'm okay with that too, guys. Whatever they want to do, what makes them happy, not what I think is right, because now we have all this movement. Oh, you got to do entrepreneurship, you got to do investments, you got to get, passive income, retire, and then just enjoy life, whatever. Yeah, some people can do that if they want to. But do you really want to go that path, or do you want to go because others are doing it and that's what you're supposed to do again? So now people are moving into the entrepreneur and investment side. Oh, because that's what most people do. So are you really doing it because you want to, or are you doing it because the rest are doing it and you think that, oh, it's cool, everybody's doing it, so I got to do it now. This is cool now, right? We got to be very careful with that. That is not a learning mindset. If you're still doing investments or being an entrepreneur because others are doing it and this is what everybody's saying you got to do, that is not the right mindset either. So it's learning your own scripts, understanding what is going on in the back of your head, exploring your mindset, changing your belief system so that you can develop that learning mindset and start facing those challenges. So how do we do this again? How do I feel around changing jobs? How do I feel around starting a new business? How do I feel about transitioning my business to something new, to something else? How do I feel around talking to people? How do I feel about changing relationships? How do I feel about going out there and finding a relationship? Doesn't matter, guys, whatever it is. How do I feel? Why do I feel this? Exploring the narratives in your mind, the story you're telling yourself. Oh, I'm scared about, going find another job because what if I go into 50 interviews and nobody hires me? Okay, this is a script that I'm telling myself. I'm scared if I don't get hired after 10 interviews, 20 interviews, 50 interviews, whatever. So the third one is, how would that make me feel about myself? It's going to make me feel like a failure if nobody picks me after 10 interviews, 20 interviews, whatever. So that is the story I'm telling myself. So I need to start changing the story. First, where does it come from? Did I have a parent, both of them or none, that changed jobs? What did they think about getting a job? I work with a lot of people that their parents taught them that they had to work for the government for the rest of their life, or for a 9 to 5 for the rest of their life in the same company and go up in the corporate ladder. Right? In the same company. So it's different families, different scripts, different programs in each mind. And I need to find those programs to understand what's going on. How do you guys add emoji under text? Okay, no, nothing to do with it. Okay, so I think I want to like acting, healthcare, question pursuit are not something my parents' family did. So I feel a little like an imposter. Thank you, Suzanne. There you go. Yes, you see? If your parents would have done that, you wouldn't feel that imposter. You might struggle. Don't get me wrong. My nephew struggles with getting his business going, but he's doing it and changing perspective and changing ideas till he hits one that's going to work. But when we were exposed to it, it makes it easier to move forward. When we weren't exposed to that, it makes it more difficult. That's why so many people struggle with, again, nowadays we're seeing it more and more, but older generations, me a little bit higher and a little bit lower, older generations in divorce. It's like divorce is a bad word. You're not allowed to divorce yourself. And I'm working with several people that are going through a divorce and they're struggling a lot because of their mental structures, of their limiting negative and false beliefs. So to be able to go through that in a much more learning mode, growing mode, growth mode, I got to identify the stories, the negatives in the back of my head, so I can start changing them and be able to put myself into this learning mode, guys. So I hope that makes sense. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know in the chat with enjoy. Type the word enjoy on social media, guys, if you're enjoying this. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll try to get back to you. Now I'm going to stay here on Zoom with the rest of the people that are here so I can do some Q&A, some laser coaching, some hot seats, so we can talk a little bit more about this and go deeper. So again, thank you very much, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys. Here we go. Let's stop recording 1 second.